Hey Tableau learners, today we are going to dive deep into one of the most crucial aspects of Tableau, which is calculated fields. In this quick video, we'll walk you through the fundamentals of Tableau calculated fields, helping you to grasp the concept and guiding you on how to leverage them effectively in your data visualization projects. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that you won't miss any of our future Tableau tutorials and tips. So let's get started with Tableau Calculated Fields tutorial and take your data visualization game to a next level. Calculated fields in Tableau are like magic formulas that you can create to make your data more interesting and insightful. Think of them as a way to perform special maths or logic on your data so that you can see it in a new and exciting way. We will look into a number of base level and beginner friendly calculations such as row level, aggregated calculations, boolean, string calculations, and much more. So let's try them out. I'll start by importing a very simple and common data, which is sample superstore. I have already downloaded this data. Since this data is an Excel file, I'll click on Microsoft Excel and go into my downloads. You can see my sample superstore data available here. I'll quickly import this order sheet onto my canvas and quickly go to my sheet number 1 so that we can start off with experimenting with a number of calculations. So as you can see, I have sample superstore data with me. These are the dimensions and these are the measures. Measures, we have discount, profit, quantity, and sales. So let's drag my category over here in my columns and let's drag my profit in my rows. Now by default, Tableau computes these measures as sum. Now what if I want to compute the profit? What I'll do, I'll quickly go into this drop down. I can select measure, I can convert into an aggregation as average. Now what if I want to convert this as a calculated field? So for that I need to click on this drop down over here. Click on here, you can either create parameter or create a calculated field. Let's create a calculated field and let's type, let's say sum of profit. Now here you can select sum. Now for average, you can select average. So and Tableau will also suggest few functions which are available by default in Tableau. So for sum, again, well, I'll type sum of profit. So automatically you can see my measure is populated over here. Click on profit and click on OK. Now here you can see on the left hand bottom side, my measure of sum of profit has been available. Now I can just drag and drop this sum of profit over here. Now again, let's do this for our sale and quantity and discount as well. So I'll click on calculated field. I'll write sum of quantity. So again, I'll type sum of quantity and once your calculation is valid, you can see at bottom the calculation is valid notification gets pop up in Tableau. You can hit OK and you can see my second calculated field is been ready. So these are the aggregated calculations. So row level calculation are calculations for each row in the data, while aggregated calculations are something which we did right now, like using some aggregated functions like sum, average, mean, median, and there are a lot of aggregated functions available in Tableau like window sum, window average, but those are like advanced part. Now let's try creating some row level calculations. So for that, let's create another calculated field. Now we'll create a new calculated field which is average sale price. So what is average sale price? Is like sum of sales divided by sum of quantity. So we have already created these two calculated fields which talks about sum of profit and sum of quantity. So let's rename this calculated field as average sale price. Now here I can use these two calculation fields which I had already created, like sum of profit divided by sum of quantity, and click on OK. You can see the calculated calculation is valid. Now hit OK. Now you can see my calculated field as average sale price in Tableau is created. Now I can just drag and drop this in my rows and remove the sum of profit. You can see my data has been updated. I can just expand this to entire view. Now you can see average sale price of technology is 20.96 while for furniture is just 2.30. Now let's create another calculation, a row level calculation, which will talk about the profit margin. So if you know profit margin is sum of profit divided by sum of sales into 100. Now we have sum of profit, but we don't have sum of sales. So how can we just create it? Let's create it again by creating a calculated field. Let's type sum of sales. Let's write sum of sales and hit enter. Now let's create another calculated field which talks about profit margin, which is sum of sales, sum of profit divided by sum of sales into 100. So this will give me a profit margin. Click on OK. Now you can see my profit margin has been created. Let's replace average sale price with my profit margin. And you can see my profit margin of office supplies and technology are almost equally the same. So these are very basic examples of aggregated and row level calculations. So now let's move ahead. Now considering you are dealing with a scenario where you're creating a table. So let's create a very simple table of, let's say, bring customer ID. Let's bring customer name. Let's also bring category from which they belong to. And also let's bring one of the measure, let's say sales. Now by default, when you drag this measure into rows or columns, automatically it will be converting this into a graph. Now I want to display individual numbers. So what I'll do, I'll click on this drop down and click on discrete. So basically you're converting the continuous value to a discrete value so that you can see individual numbers associated with the individual customer name and customer ID. Now let's say I want an index. I want a unique identifier for each of my customer ID or customer name. So for that I need to create a index function. So for that, how can you create this? So again, you need to create a new calculated field. Now Tableau offers a lot of default functions which are available. So index is one of them. So if you type index over here, you can see index which is getting popped up over here with a small f symbol which represents a function. Let's click on this and I'll rename this calculation as index as well. And you can see my calculation is valid. So click on OK. So I'll quickly bring my index onto my rows and convert it into a discrete form and bring my index onto front. So you can see each of my customer ID and customer name have got an individual index. So let's quickly sort this whole data based on top customers based on my sales. So I'll click on this drop down, click on my sort and click on sort by field. You can sort the data by alphabetic, manual, nested and data source order as well. I'll click on field and I'll click on sales. You can sort it by number of measures you have. You can sort it by profit, quantity, subcategories, a number of things. So I'll quickly select sum of sales and click on descending. So you can see the customers which have maximum number of sales are on the top and it is sorted in descending wise. Now I can use this index to basically filter down my data to, let's say, top 5 customers or top 10 customers. How can I do this? I can quickly bring my index over here. So let's say I want to filter this data by top 10 customers. I can replace this 793 to 10 and click on apply. And I will only get the data of these top 10 customers who have created or generated maximum sales. Now let's move ahead towards string calculations. So these are the calculations in which transformations with string or dimensions are involved. So let's say for a basic example, client comes to you and he requests to create a record of customer ID and customer name concatenated together. So how can you achieve it? Again, you need to create a new calculated field. Let's name this as customer ID and name. Oh, sorry, name. I'll pull my customer ID over here and I'll type plus. In double quotes, I'll mention the delimiter which I need to include. For this, I'll include underscore, close the double quotes, add a plus and customer name. Now you can see my calculation is valid. I'll hit OK and I'll drag my customer ID and name in my rows. Let's expand this field a little bit. So you can see my concatenated record of customer ID and name has been created. Now client comes to you with another requirement. Now if you closely observe this customer ID, there are two parameters. The first two letters, there are first two letters associated with a particular number. So client comes to you and he says he just want to extract these two first letters. So how can you achieve this? So for that, you need to create another string calculation. So let's say customer code. Okay. Now here I'll type left because I want to extract the leftmost characters in this customer ID. I'll pull my customer ID in my function and I'll mention the number of characters I want to actually fetch. I'll type 2 because first two characters I want to actually extract from this customer ID. You can see my calculation is valid and I'll hit OK. So you can see customer code dimension has been created. I'll drag this customer code into my rows and you can see my customer code has been generated over here. So this is what string calculations look like. Now before moving towards next set of calculations, I'll just quickly remove this customer ID and name out of our sheet, customer code as well. Now we have customer ID, customer name and sales with us. Now let's move ahead towards next set of calculated fields, which is if and else calculations. Now these are the most widely used set of calculations because it helps you to segregate data into different buckets and there are a number of applications. Now let's say a very basic example. You want to segregate the sum of sales based on a condition. That condition is if the sales are more than 15,000, it should label it as high, and if the sales are below 15,000, it should label it as low. So how can we achieve this? So for that, you need to create a new calculated field. So let's give this name as conditions. Now I can put a calculation that if my sum of sales is greater than 15,000, then now I want to output this in form of dimensions. So I'll put a dimension as high, else I can input it as low and I'll end this. You can see my calculation is valid. I'll click on OK. You can see my conditions has been created, calculated field, and I'll drag this condition on my rows. So you can see first three fields, first three rows which have sales more than 15,000 are labeled as high, while the records having sales below 15,000 are labeled as low. Now this is fine if else is fine. Now what if I want to put more than two or three buckets? So let's say for example, what if I want to segregate my sales more than 15,000 as high, if I want to segregate sales between 13,000 to 14,000 as medium, and if the sales are below 13,000, it should label it as low. So for that, I can use if, else and else if statements. So for that, you can edit your conditions by simply right clicking and clicking on edit. And here you can also edit your calculations. So for now, we have put a calculation that if sum of sales is more than 15,000, then high. I'll replace the statement with else if my sum of sales is greater than 13,000 and sum of sales is less than 15,000, then I'll input medium, else let's input it as low, and I'll end the if statement. So you can see my calculation is valid, and if I'm clicking on apply, you can see my condition has been updated. So if sales are above 15,000, they are labeled as high. Sales are between 13 to 15,000, they are labeled as medium. And if sales are below 13,000, they are labeled as low. So you can add as many buckets as per your requirements. So these are the if else calculations, or you can also say Boolean calculations. Thank you all for tuning in this video on calculated fields in Tableau. We have covered a wide range of beginner level topics from basic aggregated calculations to row level insights, indexing, conditional statements, and even string manipulations. I hope you found this video helpful and helped you boosting your Tableau skills. But remember, this is just a beginning. If you're hungry for more Tableau knowledge, be sure to check out my comprehensive end-to-end Tableau tutorials on YouTube. Your support means a lot to me, and I truly hope this video added significant value to your Tableau journey. If you really enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe my channel for more such exciting Tableau content in future. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch up in your next video.